Today, let's talk about Little Britain, the ungrateful little wolf that can't seem to get anyone on its side. It's been a while since we caught up with our old friend the UK, so let's get into it. Honestly, Britain's power is getting weaker by the day. The whole Strait of Hormuz situation in the Middle East just put that on full display for the entire world to see. Even Trump started openly mocking British warships, saying they're ancient, the aircraft carrier keeps breaking down, and the Royal Navy is basically there for decoration at this point. Now, Starmer, Britain's Prime Minister, immediately came out and said, "We're not weak. We're just choosing to act in our own national interest on Iran. We're not getting dragged into this conflict." But come on, Starmer knows the real situation. In 2024, just fighting the Houthis in the Red Sea was already pushing Britain to its absolute limit. Go to the Strait of Hormuz? They might not make it back. Then, on April 12th, Britain's Health Secretary Streeting goes on the record in an interview and calls Trump very strange. Says he keeps making inflammatory, provocative, and absurd remarks about Britain, even though Britain has been right there, helping America all along. Now, I get it. Strange isn't the only word that fits here. Trump qualifies too. Why would you want to destroy the unbreakable US-UK relationship? Well, Trump heard about it. And on April 15th, he came right back. That's not destroying the US-UK relationship. This is what destroying the US-UK relationship looks like. That 2024 trade deal we made with Britain. Cutting tariffs on British cars, aluminum, and steel? I can change that whenever I want. I can tax you more. Because when America needed Britain, they weren't there, and when America didn't need them, they still weren't there. They've just never been there. What are you doing? Playing invisible? But Britain got angry too because, look, we're not helping you. We already let the US use our military base, didn't we? You need to understand, 65% of British people were against American airstrikes, and 86% were worried the Middle East conflict would hit energy prices. We took on enormous political pressure to let you use that base because we treat you like a brother, not because we enjoy being your doormat, okay? You say we didn't help? Fine, let us show you what actually not helping looks like. In the early hours of April 26th, the Royal Air Force Fairford base suddenly caught fire. The fire broke out in an industrial warehouse and produced thick smoke. The local fire department was urgently telling people to close their windows and doors. By the time firefighters arrived and got it under control, the roof had already collapsed. Fortunately, no casualties. But this fire genuinely worried America, because Fairford Base was built back in 1944, specifically for the Normandy landings. It has a 3,000-meter main runway that can handle B-1, B-2, and B-52R bombers taking off and landing. The US Air Force never stopped using it. It's the only forward bomber deployment base for American forces in all of Europe. Planes leaving from there can cut the Iran strike time in half. Now, Britain doesn't support America's operations against Iran, but they're still like family, you know? Britain couldn't just do absolutely nothing. So, back in early March, they quietly announced they'd allow us forces to use the base for defensive operations. Britain was literally risking getting hit just to let America operate from there, and America didn't even appreciate it. Still said Britain never helped. The base got so fed up, its anger accidentally set itself on fire, and now even America is confused. Because this isn't even the first time. They sent the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier to the Middle East. The laundry room caught fire, had to emergency dock in Greece for repairs, almost pulled out of the whole operation. Then, the Eisenhower carrier and Zumwalt destroyer also caught fire. Then the Higgins missile destroyer, major fire. And now the British base America is using, also on fire. There's definitely something going on here. Let David work this out for you, because I've looked at all these fires and I think I understand. Just stop the year in operation and nothing catches fire. That's my reading of the situation. Fortunately, the Fairford fire stayed inside an abandoned warehouse. No casualties, no major impact on operations. Lucky this time, who knows what burns tomorrow. Now, Britain letting America use the base was already generous enough. As for actively escorting or fighting alongside, Britain genuinely can do it. Because having Navy in the name doesn't mean you actually have one. Sometimes it just means you used to. Early in the conflict, to retaliate against Britain for supporting America, Iranian drones struck Britain's base in Cyprus. And Britain, supposedly prepared, was actually completely unprepared. Got caught totally off guard. Why do I say that? Because afterwards, Starmer stood at a press conference and said, Britain had activated regional deployments back in January and February, especially in Cyprus and Qatar. Advanced fighters, air defense missiles, radars, anti-drone systems, all properly arranged. We knew there was a tiger in the mountain, and we had the whole setup ready to put on a show, but then everyone found out what actually happened. Britain didn't just show their hand. They showed up without any cards. One drone hit a hangar at the base. Two others We're intercepted by Cyprus, not by Britain. Cyprus. The Cypriot High Commissioner absolutely went off on them. What are you all doing? What are you doing? What? Britain, if you can't protect this base, then don't use it. Go dig a hole and sit in it. Cypriot citizens then took to the streets, get the British out. Cyprus is not your launch pad. Sort out your Iran problems somewhere else. And here's the thing about Britain right now. They always carry themselves like they're these wise, experienced operators, like they've got everything figured out, but then they can't actually figure anything out. It's like someone who can't handle university-level problems, acting like they're crushing it at middle school, when actually even kindergarten is too much. 2 months of advanced deployment, and a drone still gets through. Starmer, after getting absolutely roasted, could only say, "We're doing everything we possibly can at maximum speed." Just like you can't force Usain Bolt to run faster than his personal best, we're already at full capacity. To calm Cyprus down, the British Defense Minister flew over for a visit. The British government held 2 straight days of meetings, and their big strategic decision? Deploy military force. So they sent HMS Dragon, a destroyer capable of taking out guided missiles. Strong warship. Why Dragon specifically? Well, Britain only has 6 destroyers left. HMS Daring, HMS Defender, HMS Diamond, all in maintenance, can't move. HMS Protector had just gotten back to port, also being serviced, so Dragon was the only option. Barely. Why barely? Because Dragon had no weapons installed. They needed to put them on first. It should only take a few minutes, they said. 10,080 minutes later. Cyprus waited as Dragon slowly creaked its way over. And then, guess what? The bad news isn't that the situation got bad. The warship broke down. The Ministry of Defense initially denied it. Fake news, they said. Then Dragon was photographed, sitting in a harbor, getting repaired. Caught red-handed, the British military quickly put out a statement. This stop is for resupplying, system optimization, and technical maintenance. The warship remains at extremely high combat readiness and can set sail immediately upon receiving orders. Translation, it's not broken. It's just tired, taking a rest, give us the order, we're ready. Except, everyone then found out there was no order to give, because the British government had already quietly cancelled the entire Cyprus deployment. It's like asking someone why they assembled a gun so fast, and they tell you they never took it apart. Then LBC radio host Nick Ferrari got the British Defense Minister on air and asked, "The British Empire was built on its navy. Dragon broke down. Why can't we just send another warship? How many ships do we actually have?" The minister completely froze. We have that 17 frigates and destroyers. Ferrari, great. If we have 17 warships, where are they right now? Well, minister, you have to understand we're the Royal Navy. These are the king's ships. So you're saying they exist, but nobody can see them? Yes, no, what I mean is, every country has equipment in use, equipment being deployed, equipment on standby, equipment in maintenance. You understand? Are all of Britain's warships in maintenance? That's not the point. The point is, even though Dragon can't complete the mission, we can ask Germany for help. Have them provide a warship to protect Cyprus instead. You know, Britain and Germany have a long history of, let's say, warm exchanges. They'll step up. You heard that right. The British Empire has now sunk to borrowing warships from Germany. Hitler would hear that from his grave and laugh himself awake. Ferrari, doesn't it embarrass you just a little borrowing from Germany? Minister, what's embarrassing about it? This is a sign of NATO unity and strength. Shows we're all in this together. Right, okay. Britain's current situation, call them smart, they can't even tell you how many ships they have. Call them stupid, at least they knew to call Germany. Okay, let's come back to the main point. Everything I just described exposes one enormous problem, Britain's decline. And especially its military decline, it's catastrophic. There's actually a joke going around now that the Royal Navy has more admirals than warships. But honestly, that slightly undersells how bad it is. What do you mean the Navy has more admirals than ships? The Army has more generals than tanks. Take the famous Challenger 2 main battle tank. As of 2017, only 200 left, and of those, only 50 were actually combat ready. Where did the other 150 go? The military decided maintenance costs money, exercises cause wear and tear, that costs money too. So to save money, they just sealed them up in storage. So when Britain deployed a full armored regiment to the 2017 NATO exercises, you might think, the Empire still has some muscle left. But actually, that was every single tank Britain owned. The entire national supply all at once. That wasn't confidence. That was the family fortune. Meanwhile, 230 British Army generals. After Labour came to power, Starmer couldn't take it anymore looking at the Army's state. He ordered them to buy more equipment. What you have right now isn't even enough to arm Ukraine. And that year, the British military announced it would raise the Challenger 2 inventory to 288, a 31% increase. They even called it the return of heavy armor capability. The British Empire is back. Except, the military quietly played Starmer. On paper, the numbers went up. What they actually did was pull those 150 mothballed tanks out of storage, slap some basic repairs on them, and count them again. Total looks bigger, combat capable, exactly the same as before. According to media reports, Britain can deploy 180 to 200 tanks within 72 hours, still fewer than the number of generals. And then there's the Challenger 3 program Britain keeps promoting. I thought, finally, they're building a real next-generation tank. But they clarified, this isn't a fourth-generation tank in the Russian sense. Not in the German sense either. They're just upgrading the Challenger 2. You might think Britain is being modest, playing strategic games. No, they're genuinely just doing upgrades. Then the British military announced a plan to technically upgrade 148 Challenger and 2 tanks. And since Britain barely has any industrial base left, they outsourced the whole thing to Germany's Rheinmetall. Challenger 3 gets a German L-55A1 smoothbore gun, an Israeli Trophy active protection system, American digital systems, and more, drawing from all nations. Very international. So if it's just an upgrade, why call it Challenger 3? Why not Challenger 2 enhanced or whatever? Because Challenger 3 sounds like Britain has a fourth-generation tank. Marketing. First batch was originally planned for 2027, full completion by 2030, already delayed. By how much? We'll find out when we find out. Okay, this video isn't done yet. Let's keep going. Because of the Russia and Ukraine tensions after labor came in, they launched a big recruitment push. Target 76,000 standing army personnel by 2029. To help hit those numbers, the British military tried recruiting through Call of Duty. Seriously, why shoot online? Real men come offline. After a full year of that effort, total new recruits across Army, Navy, and Air Force combined in 2025, 240 people. 240. All three branches. Together. Now the British Army currently sits at 74,270 people. Take out 11,900 serving officers. Take out soldiers who haven't gone through proper training. Britain's actually combat deployable headcount, about 58,400. How do you put that in perspective? In World War I's Battle of the Somme, British casualties on the first day alone were 60,000. One battle, one day, more than Britain's entire deployable force today. Even at Britain's weakest historical point, 1803, on the eve of the Napoleonic Wars, they had 67,000 standing troops. They have fewer soldiers now than they did over 200 years ago. Retired Colonel Richard Kemp, Afghanistan veteran, said it plainly, how many defense secretaries have come and gone? Did anything change? Same soup, different bowl. What kind of team did I lead? I led a construction crew. What is Britain fielding right now? Your warship is leaking and you still want to go to the Mediterranean? It can't go. It doesn't have the capability. And let me just say something a bit unpleasant here. The British Army is actually the best performing of the three services. Army recruitment only dropped 15%, Air Force dropped 17%, Navy dropped 22%. The least decline is technically the most progress, right? Here's something abstract. The British Navy has 119 admirals and 260 captains, but count every vessel, submarines, patrol boats, everything, 51 ships total, less than half actually operational at any given time. That means fewer than 1 in 10 captains has an actual ship to command. The rest are just there. As for those 119 admirals, if they had eaten Logia divi fruits from One Piece, maybe they'd actually be useful out there, but they haven't. Britain hasn't fought a real war in how many years? These are desk admirals, career bureaucrats in uniform, collecting salaries, writing memos, and when warships retire, Britain sells them. The famous HMS Hermes aircraft carrier, the hero of the Falklands War, the moment it was decommissioned, Thatcher sold it to India. Just like that. Britain has been actively, deliberately shrinking its military for years. Even in 2021, a full year before Russia invaded Ukraine, the British government published a defense review planning to cut the army to 72,500 people over the next decade. Their logic: tanks, aircraft, artillery becoming obsolete. The future is cyber, AI, space, drones. That's where Britain should invest. Britain followed this plan religiously for years. Then 2022 happened, and Putin and Zelensky together handed Britain the most expensive lesson in modern history. Planes, tanks, and artillery still worked just fine. At that point, Britain realized they'd developed neither the new stuff nor kept the old stuff, sold the carriers, mothballed the tanks, cut the troops. Now stuck. Can't go forward, can't go back. One track, blocked at both ends. And here's what makes even less sense. Britain's military is tiny, but the defense budget is enormous. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, Britain spent $89.8 billion on defense in 2024, $88.9 billion in 2025, 2.4% of GDP, for 140,000 total military personnel, with barely any ships or tanks to maintain. Empire-size org chart, corner shop-size army. Honestly, British people themselves probably hope their military is deeply corrupt, like extremely corrupt, because if there's no corruption and it ended up like this anyway, that means it's systemic failure. That's actually worse. Compared to Russia, yes, Russia's 2025 military budget hit over $190 billion, more than double Britain's. But Russia has more than 10 times the military personnel. And that's in active wartime with frontline rotations, ammunition weapons, maintenance soldier welfare, and they're still somehow rebuilding Mariupol. You have to give credit where it's due. So where does Britain's defense money actually go? 30% goes to salaries and pensions, but an average British soldier earns only about €26,000 a year before tax. So where's the rest going? Straight to the officer class. Eventually, the British government couldn't take it anymore. On April 14th, they told military leadership, find €3.5 billion in savings this year through efficiency improvements. Translation: too many people at the top spending too much money, current budget can't even cover the recruitment plans, figure it out. And honestly, Britain got into this situation because of total dependence on America. For years, just banking on NATO's military protection. If something happens, America goes first, Britain covers the rear. Nothing to worry about. Then Trump arrived and everything changed. Wait, accepting US protection requires payment? Wait, America can actually put tariffs on British exports? Wait, America can threaten NATO members with military pressure. When did the script change? According to Britain's Office for National Statistics, since Trump's tariff policies kicked in, excluding precious metals, British exports to America dropped 25%. Scotch whiskey exports, one of Britain's most important products, fell 4% in value and 9.2% in volume. Car exports still haven't recovered, and since December 2025, Britain has been running a trade deficit with America for 3 consecutive months. Britain is now buying more from America than it sells, and that's just the economic damage. The political damage is worse. The US Department of Defense mentioned in emails which got out that America might reconsider its support for Britain's position on Argentine sovereignty over the Falklands. Translation: if Argentina wants to retake the islands, America might let them. That terrified the British government. We've been allies for over a century. How do you say something that cold? And then right after those emails went public on April 24th, Argentina's foreign minister reiterated the country's sovereignty claim over the Falklands. The timing on that was not a coincidence. Deliberately sticking it to us. Britain can't fight Argentina without American support. Not anymore. No ships. Can't even get there. So they played their last card. The king. On April 27, 2026, King Charles personally flew to America with precious gifts for President Trump. But America's reception was grand. Nearly 500 military personnel from 6 branches on the White House South Lawn, 21-gun salute, full white tie state dinner. They decorated Washington, D.C. early with American flags and Australian ones. Had to swap them out for British ones. Minor detail. Seeing America so enthusiastic, Charles brought out the gift, a clock. The last time the White House hosted a British royal at this scale was 19 years ago for Charles's mother. Why a clock? Because this clock means something. It's a ship's bell from a World War II British submarine, and the submarine's name was HMS Trump. That's an actual auspicious sign, brought all the way from Britain. And there's a second layer. Trump keeps saying Britain never shows up when needed. So here's a bell. When you need Britain, ring it. That's a double meaning. Call whenever you need us. That's what it's saying. You have to respect the man, he's a king. High IQ, high EQ, even sending a clock as a gift, he managed to please America without offending anyone else. He also gave Trump the original blueprints for the Resolute desk, the famous presidential desk in the Oval Office. Trump only gets to use the actual desk for 4 years. With those blueprints, he could build an identical one at home and use it forever. Some people read that as a subtle hint about a third term. Make of that what you will. Either way, King Charles clearly made Trump happy. Trump immediately announced he would cancel all Scotch whiskey tariffs in honor of King Charles's visit. And on the Falklands, the Defense Department walked back the threat entirely. The Falklands are something we fought for together as brothers. We support British sovereignty. Britain exhaled. Because without American support, a war over the Falklands isn't about winning or losing, it's about whether Britain can even get there. They don't have enough ships. With America's backing, they're okay. Of course, this is only where things stand right now. Trump's biggest characteristic is that what he says today could be completely void tomorrow. Nobody knows what new reason he'll find to pressure Britain next, and Britain, beyond quietly seething, seems to have weakened to the point of having almost no real way to push back. Whether this peace holds, we'll just have to see. That's it for today. If you liked it, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps. This is David. See you next time. Maybe I'll catch you off guard with the next one.